I started as an angel. When I was a founder, I think I wanted to speed track everything I was learning, and I was getting interested into certain verticals and areas more than others. And yeah, putting a small check as an angel was a way for me to connect to founders, getting closer to topics I really cared about. A few investments, I ended up building a small investment club. And from that investment club, I decided I wanted to do this full time. Decided how to build an intuition. But it really started out of, okay, I'm doing a few checks. Usually my checks were pretty small. I wanted to also have rational behind diversifying my investments. And so knowing how risky startups were, I think I wanted to do, more than 10. I ended up doing with my investment club about 15. And then I think I wanted to go from, okay, I'm doing this on the side to I actually want to do this full time and be a professional about those. And yeah, with the fund right now, we invested in 10 companies already, and hopefully a lot more. I think the goal for us is to do 40 plus right now. So yeah, I think, every investment brings you a different set of expertise and even the experience that you get as an investor. So it's been super interesting. And I was a big Michael Jordan fan, so I was like, okay, I'm going to go full on becoming or trying to become a basketball player. I was dreaming about going to the NBA, and yeah, I started playing in my little town. That kind of became like a local superstar, and then I got into, okay, this is getting serious. At 14, 15, I got into basically the pro teams where they train young players to come up. I signed my first contract. I was 16. I became professional at 18. Played a couple of years professional in Spain, but then you also get caught up by reality. Being a professional athlete is actually insanely hard. You have to sacrifice a lot. Actually, very few athletes get to, I think, enjoy the type of stability where you make enough money to, have like your life taken care of. And even if you do make a lot of money, it's still very complicated. It's very complicated to have family. You can get injured. I personally tore my ACL when I was 18. My parents went to med school. So I got like this whole perspective of, okay, do you actually really want to do this? And for me, unless I was making it to the biggest league, which was the NBA, I don't think I was interested. Yeah, at 20 years old, I decided I wanted to do something else with my life. I often think that like my first stunt as trying to be a professional basketball player was my first startup. Like I really had to push myself. I had no agent. I had to go out there and try to find opportunities, and I think the resilience and the pain tolerance that you build, and I think you see it a lot of times with a lot of former athletes going to early stage. Like the 0 to 1 is just so hard. I think you want to find people with extremely high pain tolerance that can move fast, care about the group, that or aligned with doing some like a mission that's bigger than themselves, and that resonated a lot. So I do admit that like when I had to transition after, entrepreneurship was kind of like the logical path for me. Figure there's a lot of alignment, at least in my life, doing that. And even the VC I'm doing right now, we're building that business, and it feels like being a founder again. So yeah, that's the only thing I know. It's a blessing and a curse because it feels so good to have that. But when you just don't want to do anything else. As I was telling you, as I was transitioning from basketball, I think the hardest thing for me is I just completely lost my identity when I was a professional basketball player. I didn't go to school for 2 years. And then I got to this realization to like, okay, I need to do something else with my life. So I leveraged basketball to go back to the US. I was in an academic was on scholarship, first with sports, second with my grades. But during that process, I was like, okay, I want to go for something that I feel I'm really good at. And I think the intensity of competitive sports, I could only find it in entrepreneurship. I was in California, so you want to be an entrepreneur in tech. And I dabbled around a few things, I had like a bunch of projects that went nowhere. Back then it was 2013, 14, golden age of consumer apps. So Instagram was becoming mainstream, Snapchat, Tinder, whatever. And I was working a lot around these ideas. I was still in my 20s. I wanted to try other things. I was good in math and econ, so I wanted to try finance as well. So I became a VC, and then I became an investment manager. But yeah, I felt like I didn't tick the boxes for the corporate environment. And 2018, 19, I decided to finally take a leap of faith. I met my co-founder back then, and he had the first company before. He was convinced there was an opportunity to build something in the autonomous driving environment, and it's got to be something we can do. We just got to find a good problem to solve, and we have a company there. Also, I get to meet the co-GP I'm building Intuition with, Hugo, who at the time was introduced by one of the investors of my the little club I built. Told me, like, you have to meet this guy. He's arguably the best angel investor on that vertical in Europe. And we met, we instantly clicked. We were investing into very similar stuff, and we kept wondering, okay, like, why isn't there like a fund that is heavily focusing on consumer, and that is investing in the US and in Europe with like this very ambitious and international approach? There are a few out there, but for us, it wasn't enough. We felt like consumer was really overlooked, especially over the past few years when, you had like interest rates rising and a lot of people wanting to take a lot less risk on these kind of companies that were more volatile. And so at some point we looked at each other and we're like, okay, let's build it. And so I think
And maybe just to back you up on that, I think, yes, there's a lot that don't want to touch consumer, both on the LP side and the VC side. Two, even the firms that have kind of built their reputation in consumer, many of them have actually pivoted a bit away from consumer or doing less. We had Christian Meerman from Cherry on the podcast. He said it, like, we're actually doing less in consumer now. And that story is repeated many places. So I think you're absolutely right in what you're saying, that consumer is not the hardest thing in European venture.
This is definitely not the hardest thing. It's very polarizing. I think it's also a job, whether you're a founder or an investor, that it's meant for contrarians. So we felt very comfortable about that, and that's totally fine. But at least when we started having the idea, we were like, okay, let's build it and figure out a way to make it work. I know a lot of funds, they're really involved in the operational. They take like very few bets, but when they come in, like, they're super value add. But it is going to become survival of the fittest. Like, if you don't really add like a clear value, you just shouldn't exist. And I think this type of companies are going to expose you right away. And I think for us, at least with Ego, in our DNA, I don't think we want to grow above like the $30 million threshold. I think we just want to stay. This is why we're called Intuition. We want to be at the beginning, super agile. I don't think there's even like size for the consumer fund to be like 100 million plus and backing all these consumer companies. I think this is really, like, at least from what we assessed, this was the best economic opportunity that we could come up with. And yeah, I think our DNA is rather stay small. You get a lot better chances to exit your fund as well. And as we start, I think, 10 million for us was the perfect size. We don't want to be much bigger. Like, obviously it's not a lot in management fees, but it's very aligned with the performance you have to put on for your LPs, basically. I think some of the great qualities that founders have in general is that they are able to, multitask and do several things at like a super high level. But the most important thing for me is really like your willingness to try new technologies, being curious, else you're going to be left behind. And I think there's a clear sense of urgency if you go to a place like the Silicon Valley. You really feel like people actually scared for their jobs or not taking advantage of the opportunity. We don't feel that sense of urgency here in Europe yet. And I don't know if it's ever going to get to the level of, what you can feel when you're in the Valley. But this is going to be completely transformative. Hugo and I, for example, we are obsessed with automating everything that we can do with all the tools that we have. Because if you start getting left behind, you're going to feel like your parents when the mobile came in. Like, this is legit what's going to happen. And so the new generation, they're going to be born with those tools. I think they already performed studies where they are seeing that high school students were using ChatGPT very frequently. They are now having difficulties to form like full opinions, because now they think in prompts. So they're thinking of like really small segment of the way you think at large, because they know AI is going to complete the rest. A little bit like before you had to be able to do calculus. Now you have a calculator on your phone. Why would you care about learning to do it? And so I think there are a lot of full tasks that we're just going to eliminate from our day to day. And the quicker you get to automating everything and being comfortable with those tools, even if you have to force yourself to use them, you have to do it for your survival, I think, as a founder. If as a founder, you don't have that sense of urgency, it's going to be very difficult. So yes, you have to be multitasking. Yes, you have to learn new things. And yes, you have to be able to try new tools. A bit like a gamer when you were a teenager, like you will, go online, teach everything yourself. Like those are the people who are going to create the most values in the next few years, because you're going to have all those tools available, all those agents, all those, like software tools that enable you to do all these things.
Such an exciting time, and
It's an incredible time, to be honest, to be in this space, especially as whether you're a founder, investor, or you're, working with those communities. Like it's amazing.